The top arms in the 2025 class are set to battle it out at the Elite 11 finals next month. We take a look at who's invited and who's next. Julian Lewis is in. The USC commit is stacking visits this summer, but his upcoming trip to Indiana has caught some people by surprise. Not our insider Tom Loy. He called it months ago. He joins the show to take a victory lap and give us the details. Plus, the GOAT of recruiting, Nick Saban, is off the trail. So which coaches and programs are getting the most love? Well, the Tigers are getting a lot of buzz. No, not those Tigers or those. These Tigers. All that and more as the college football recruiting show starts right now. Welcome into our 24/7 sports studios here in Nashville, Tennessee. I am Emily Proud. I'm going to remind you of all the things I always do at the beginning of the show, and that is to hit that like button and make sure that you are subscribed. Another thing we do at the beginning of the show is we bring you the headlines. Let's go ahead and tell you what's happening in the world of college football recruiting. This just in today, former five-star Corman McClain visiting Florida this weekend. His first known visit since hitting the portal less than a month ago after one season with Colorado. And as our Blake Alderman of Swamp 24/7 explains, he'll be back again soon.
Florida fans are already very familiar with former five-star defensive back Corman McClain. In the 2023 class, Florida, he had them as a finalist. He eventually picked Miami over the Gators in Alabama and eventually flipped from Miami to Colorado. But now that he's back in the NCAA transfer portal, Florida has already made contact with Corman McClain. He's actually visited this past Friday for an unofficial visit. His mom and his agent were there along with him. It was a chance for him to meet with Billy Napier and the Florida staff while they were in town. Kind of talk things about how just the process has been going since he's been in the NCAA transfer portal, what he's looking for, just really kind of getting an idea of where things are at in his head. So they had the visit on Friday, and now he's set to be back in town again for an official visit, which we've heard will start this coming Tuesday. So he'll be in Gainesville again Tuesday, Wednesday for the official visit. Not really certain right now what teams are in play, really what the table looks like, the setting of this table looks like, rather, for this recruitment. Florida does seem to have some traction here. They offer an opportunity for him to be back close to home. There's a lot of structure on the field, off the field, just the player development, the resources available for players. And I think that that's something that is viewed as a positive for Corman McClain. A lot of things just talking about missing meetings and watching film and just a lot of things that were spoken about during his time at Colorado. And I think Florida offers just an opportunity for him to improve those things and have really kind of a safety net around him. So I think right now Florida is a team to watch heading in this official visit. We'll see how things go coming out of the trip, but Florida could have a chance to really kind of, I guess, have a happy ending to a guy that was a top target for them in that 2023 class that they originally missed out on when he was a high school prospect.
Go check out Swamp 24/7 for more on McClain's visits and, of course, all things Florida recruiting. Let's get you some more headlines. USC quarterback commit Julian Lewis has not been shy about taking visits, and his latest is a trip to Indiana on May 31st. This will come ahead of his scheduled visits to USC, Auburn, and Colorado, all during the month of June. The latest on Lewis with Tom Loy a little bit later in this show. Meanwhile, four-star corner Kobe Sellers locked it in with Texas A&M. The Shadow Creek, Texas standout picked the Aggies over Oklahoma and Texas. Another commitment out of the top 247 over the weekend. Four-star quarterback and California product TJ Lateef has pledged to Nebraska. The Orange Lutheran quarterback is the number 16 QB in the 2025 class. Meanwhile, in the camp circuit, three-star defensive lineman Trajan Odom was named the alpha dog at the UA Charlotte event yesterday. Our Ann Adams has a crystal ball pick for him to land at USC, but he also has visits set up with Oregon and Ohio State later this month. Our last headline, but our first segment here is talking about UA Charlotte with another person who was there in addition to Anna Adams, our friend and national recruiting analyst, Cooper Petagna. Cooper, let's start with Trajan Odom. Alpha Dog, you were there. Why is he the pick?
Well, he was pretty dominant. He set the tone early in the morning, 6'5", 280 pounds north of that, and he can play so many different positions on the defensive line. That's really why I like him. That's why our team likes him at 24/7 Sports. And this is a guy that can play in a 4-down front. He can play in a 3-down front. But the biggest thing about him is the power that he plays with. He plays to his size. So the ability to play the run, which we've seen on tape, but the ability also to kind of offer some presence off the edge if need be. Not a lot of teams are going to ask him to do that. But you see his recruitment. They're teams that run an odd front, an even front. He's got a little bit of everything going on. So I love his scheme versatility, what he brings to the table, and this is a guy who's a really high floor player. These are the guys that right now college teams around the country, you want to avoid being in the market, in the spring market for a defensive lineman. So if you can find this guy on the front end, more power to you. That's why Trajan Odom's a really hot name right now.
Yeah, we just saw that with the spring transfer portal window. Everybody needs a defensive lineman. So he's from the 2025 class. There were also some 2026 players that stood out, namely the number 1 tight end and number 6 overall prospect in 2026 in Kendra Harrison. What'd you like from what you saw from him?
Well, he's a unique guy. He's a two-sport athlete, and a guy that is going to have the opportunity to play basketball if he wants it, and I think he's going to explore that. I was talking with Anna Adams. It seems like this is a guy who's definitely going to try to figure out whether or not he's going to play basketball or football, and as one time, a top 100 prospect on the basketball side of things. So what we saw this week, 6'7", 245 pounds, you see the ability to kind of stretch the field as well, two-way snap. So he is a dynamic athlete. And I think the biggest thing is he's a walking mismatch. Anytime you get in the red zone, he's a big physical target with really natural ball skills as well. He is just really starting to come into his own, what type of football player he's going to be. So I think the natural player comparison is a guy like Darnell Washington, and I can see why people would think that, but we're really excited about him. He's got a big senior year ahead of him.
Another 26 prospect that you love is the 3-star quarterback, Javon Gilmore. It's still very early in his recruitment, but why is this a guy that we should buy some stock on now?
Well, he only had 1,700 yards passing last year. He had 22 touchdowns, 7 INTs, so he's still coming into his own on the field. But when you see him in person, 6'3.5", almost 190 pounds, we've got to see him twice in the last month, and this is a guy with a lot of natural arm talent. So his ability to attack the deep third as well. He plays with a lot of touch. He can change speeds. I just like the overall arm talent package that he kind of offers. And I think teams, the more they kind of dig in on him, the more they like. Texas A&M offered last week. Arkansas offered today. So this is a guy not only for us that is trending in the right direction, but I think as teams start to do their homework in the spring, reevaluate their 2026 board, this is going to be a name that's going to continue to surge.
A name that is going to continue to surge and has been surging is the number 1 player in the class of 2026, and that is the quarterback, Faizon Brandon. I know you've seen him a few times over the last few weeks, but what did he show you this weekend that maybe you hadn't seen yet?
Yeah, more of the same of what we saw in Atlanta at the Elite 11. And this was a guy that's he's so young. He's 15 years of age. He turns 16 next month. But you talk about his resume already, 13-1 as a starter last year. He had 36 touchdowns, 3 INTs. He's super clean. He's a little mechanical in his body. He's got some upper body, lower body stiffness as well. But in terms of the arm talent and the ball really popping off his hand, it's second to none. You compare him to some guys in the 2025 class, and obviously we have him number 1 in the country in 2026 for good reason, but he'd be right in that conversation, I think, in the top half of the top 32. So I love him. And the more you kind of dig in on the person as well, there's a lot to like. Very mature, very coachable. So all those things, you kind of bring that into the picture. There's a lot to like about Faizon Brandon and the arm talent as well. I've spoken about that, but this is a guy that's just really kind of starting to put it together in terms of what he's going to be as a quarterback. So to see what he did last year as a sophomore going into his junior season just gets you a little bit more intrigued about how high the potential can actually be for this guy.
Potential is the name of the game with him at just 15 years old. Still has a lot of football left to play, but thank you for that great analysis, and thanks for making the trip there and coming back here to give us all the good information, Coop. We appreciate it. Speaking of information, you can always find the best stuff right here on the 24/7 Sports Football Recruiting Podcast with Cooper Petagna and Andrew Ivins. New episodes drop every Tuesday and Wednesday. You can watch live at noon Eastern on the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel or listen wherever you get your podcasts. Well, Well, here at 24/7 Sports, we are, of course, always looking ahead. And right now, our focus is on the 2025 recruiting class. And the top 10, it looks like this. Notre Dame just with quality and quantity at number 1. You've got Ohio State and LSU with a whole lot of quality. 3 5-stars, you see it there for the Buckeyes. 2 for LSU, including the number 1 player. Now, speaking of hot recruiting, we are bringing in 2 of our analysts to talk about just all the buzz that's happening on the recruiting trail right now. And I teased this, guys, at the top of the show. You've got Tom Loy and Brandon Huffman here. That now that we've taken Nick Saban off the trail, I was just genuinely curious to see where all the buzz is going to. Who are the hot named coaches that everybody wants to hear from? Who are some of the teams that you want to get that phone call from? So let's start there. Tom, which team or coach maybe is getting a lot of buzz right now?
There's a lot of buzz around Texas A&M head coach Mike Elko. As soon as he was hired, I told Aggie fans that this guy is the real deal. I've tracked him since Wake Forest, then at Notre Dame, then when he became the head coach at Duke. He's extremely intelligent off the field, even more so on it, especially when he's talking ball. So he's real, he's genuine, he's an incredible evaluator of talent. He's 100% going to get the Texas A&M program back to where it belongs. But I want to give a shout out to Texas A&M General Manager Derek Miller. This is a guy that's been doing it at a high level every stop. Ton of success. He's incredible at what he does, and there's very few that are as intelligent as he is. But you talk to top Texas A&M targets like Khalik Lockett, one of the best receivers in the country, Jonah Williams, a great linebacker, and then elite offensive lineman Michael Fasusi. These guys bring up Derek Miller. So shout out to Elko, Derek Miller, and the guys in College Station.
Huff, who are you hearing?
The one school that you're getting a lot of buzz about is Oregon. Dan Lanning's name was linked to the A&M job. It was linked to the Alabama job, like you mentioned, with Nick Saban leaving. But Oregon has a buzz with guys in the transfer portal, with guys in recruiting. You are hearing Dan Lanning's name. You're hearing his staff's name for a ton of players, not just on the West Coast, but nationally. And when he got hired at Oregon out of Georgia after the 2021 season where the Doves won the national championship, he said he wanted to bring an SEC-style mentality to Oregon. Now, he's got to get over the hump and beat Washington. He's 0-3 against his rivals to the Northwest. But on the recruiting trail, he's beaten the Huskies and USC. They're 2 probably biggest competitors out west for recruits. And then he's beaten a lot of national programs. So there is a ton of buzz for the Ducks right now, and Dan Lanning is a big reason why.
Huff, I want to ask you specifically about UCLA. Obviously, that is your territory. But when you've got a new head coach in there, what are you hearing early on as far as the returns from the new coach, Foster?
Well, for the first time in 7 years, you're actually hearing UCLA mentioned by recruits. Big recruits, local recruits, national recruits, medium recruits, you name it. There was no buzz around Chip Kelly. They had the worst class in the Big Ten in their first year heading into the Big Ten in 2024, just zero buzz recruiting-wise. And then when Chip Kelly left a few days after National Signing Day in February, Deshaun Foster was named the head coach. The former Bruins star running back has buzz building in Westwood. They had over 300 players at their Friday Night Lights practice and their spring showcase. They're getting official visits from top-tier players from all across the country. Local recruits are getting back into being interested in UCLA in the 25 class, in the 2026 class. He's got all kinds of momentum. Now they've got to close on a lot of those recruits they're getting to campus. No school in the Big Ten out west is hosting more official visits in the month of May than UCLA. So this is the opportunity for Deshaun Foster to build on the buzz of his hire to now get those players to return back to Westwood. He would know. He was a part of the number 1 recruiting class back in 1998, was at UCLA when Jim Mora was getting top-tier recruiting classes, and then watched it kind of flail under Chip Kelly. So he knows what UCLA is capable of, and they're starting to build some momentum in Westwood.
Especially impressive considering how much later in the hiring cycle that he was brought in. He's done all of this work just in a few short months after being officially promoted in early, or I guess mid-February, it seems like. Okay, so those are some big names that we're talking about here. But Tom, who's maybe a team that could surprise us that you've been hearing a lot about on the recruiting trail?
I would go with Memphis and head coach Ryan Silverfield. I know everybody wants to talk about NIL and FedEx and that being a big factor, which is fine. But a lot of love needs to go to Ryan Silverfield. I'm a big fan, to be completely honest. His ability to connect with guys, being authentic, real, it's impressive, and it's paying off. obviously they've made a lot of noise on the field, but what he's doing off of it is impressive. Bo Davidson and Josh Dunson, a couple guys in-house, are also helping a ton when it comes to recruiting, but they have Memphis in the thick of it with guys that I didn't really expect. Top 100 quarterback Antoine Hill, top 247 offensive lineman Peyton Joseph, and a 3-star edge rusher Tristan Abram, who was extremely impressive at the Under Armour camp in Nashville that I went to. Those 3 guys could absolutely pick Memphis. I don't necessarily have a crystal ball pick for the Tigers at this point, but shout out to Ryan Silverfield, shout out to the Memphis Tigers staff. They are moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, UCLA was probably the one school that's more surprising just because of how dead it was in Westwood under Chip Kelly. But I'm going to give a different name, Arizona State. What Kenny Dillingham is doing at his alma mater has been very impressive. They have closed on some local recruits in the state of Arizona. They've gone into California. They've gone into the state of Texas and gotten some recruits for a program that, for much of the buzz in this offseason, it was about the recruiting penalties that they incurred under Herm Edwards a couple of years ago that now has some of those guys on that staff no longer coaching in college football. Kenny Dillingham knew he had a huge task when he took the job at his alma mater, one of the youngest coaches in college football. Arizona State was not able to get any kind of momentum really under Edwards locally. A lot of those in-state kids would leave the state, but now they're building a buzz in-state. He's got 3 former head coaches in the state of Arizona from the high school ranks on his staff. He's a local product himself. So Arizona State is starting to build some momentum with local kids, but also going into Texas, also going into California. And they made one of the biggest splashy name hires of the offseason from a position coaching standpoint, and that's Hines Ward, who won a couple of Super Bowl championships with the Steelers. Hines Ward's immediate impact when he got to Arizona State was to get a 4-star commit out of the state of Texas. So if Kenny Dillingham can continue to build the momentum at his alma mater in his backyard as they make that move to the Big 12, then I think there's a very bright future on hand potentially for Arizona State.
Love it. I would be remiss if I did not ask Tom, who is on the Notre Dame beat, and the fact that Notre Dame is #1 in 2025 right now. I'm sure there's a more eloquent way of phrasing this, but what are they doing right now that's making them have so much success?
Marcus Freeman's a different cat. He's been that way since day one. There are very few that want to recruit at his level, that care to recruit at his level. And he's all about his business. He's focused on winning championships. But his ability to connect with recruits and prospects, it's unlike many others in this profession. But also shout out to Chad Bowden, who was newly appointed general manager in South Bend. I mean, he's a different cat, to say the least, just like Marcus Freeman. So they're built the same way. He's unique. He's wired different. When you talk to guys like top 100 cornerback Mark Zachary, top 100 linebacker Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng, and elite receivers like a Derek Meadows or a top safety like Jadon Blair. I mean, these guys single out Chad Bowden. They single out Marcus Freeman. They are doing all the right things, pushing all the right buttons, and that next level approach is paying off in South Bend.
So early on, too, in the recruiting cycle. I just think that makes it so much more impressive, too, getting these guys to commit early. So we brought you both in because you're both insiders, and I love kind of the big picture look at what's happening in the world of recruiting, but I have to also get some good intel from you guys while we're here. So Huff, I'll start with you. You had a great piece on Friday about, some West Coast visitors and all the buzz that was surrounding them. So coming out of those visits this weekend, who are you hearing a lot about?
Well, Jackson Lloyd is the top offensive lineman in Northern California in the sleepy town of Carmel, known mostly for being where Clint Eastwood was the mayor at one point. If you don't know who Clint Eastwood is, Google it, folks. But Jackson Lloyd is drawing all kinds of recruiting attention to Carmel and college coaches. One of the persons who visited last week was Justin Fry, the offensive line coach at Ohio State. They offered Lloyd earlier in the week, and then he quickly took a visit out to Columbus this weekend. Now, a year ago, he was given his first offer by Chip Kelly and by Tim Drevno, the offensive line coach at UCLA at the time. Now with Kelly, the offensive coordinator at Ohio State, and Drevno, a quality control analyst for the Buckeyes underneath Justin Fry, they were able to get him to campus this weekend. He's got official visits set up for Alabama and USC in the month of June, but the unofficial visit out to Columbus this weekend went well enough that he will schedule an official visit to Ohio State. And I think the Buckeyes are going to be a real contender here, given the relationship he has with Drevno and with Kelly, and also the fact that the Buckeyes have made it a focus to get Jackson Loy to come out on a visit quickly and then to get him to come back for an official visit. I still like where Alabama sits. Kalen DeBoer made a big impression on him when he was at Washington. USC offers a little bit of a local opportunity for him. But keep an eye on the Buckeyes and the Tide here. And Ohio State is slowly but surely making their way back into the mix for Jackson Loy.
All right. And Tom, I said it at the beginning of the show. I kind of joked, but if you want to, you're more than welcome to take a victory lap for calling out to not rule out Indiana when it comes to five-star quarterback Julian Lewis. But what are you hearing as far as what attracts him to the Hoosiers?
Yeah, I took a big beating from USC fans on that one. They called me a Notre Dame homer. But look, Julian Lewis is still committed to USC. He says he's strongly committed there, but he's considering his options. So he's looking at Indiana, Auburn, Colorado. He's at Indiana May 31st, and after that, he's going to go to USC, Auburn, and then Colorado and wrap things up. But Emily, we talked about this in January. You said it. We were in Nashville. His relationship with Tino Sinceri goes back longer than anyone. That is the key here. We said that relationships matter to Lewis. We said that relationships matter to the Indiana staff, and that's all paying off. He also has a lot of respect for head coach Curt Cignetti. So again, all factors that are really not surprising that Julian Lewis is going to get on campus here in the Hoosier State. Do I think he's going to land there? No. If I had a crystal ball pick, I'm just not ready to put one in for a flip quite yet. But if I had one in, it would still be on Auburn. I think that the Tigers are doing a great job, and that school sets him up for a lot of success. But keep an eye on Indiana. Keep an eye on Colorado. I don't think this one's done. In the end, I still do see him flipping from USC. But personally, I think that USC is the best fit for him. I think under Lincoln Riley, he's going to have tremendous success if he lands there. All these USC fans think that I'm just being a hater, but I really think that that's the best fit for him. But if I had a crystal ball, if I had to put one in today, it would be on Auburn.
Man, what a roller coaster USC fans going through listening to your answer to that question. All of a sudden, Auburn's coming out of here. Well, don't rule out Colorado. But I do think he should stay at USC. That was a trip, but that seems to be the recruitment of Julian Lewis. We appreciate you keeping tabs on it. Both of you, thank you so much for being here. You can check out more of their great work at 247sports.com. As always, I will tell you, for the best and most exclusive recruiting intel, become a VIP member. Coming up next month, these finalists will go head-to-head at the Elite 11 finals in L.A. 2 five-star quarterbacks already locked in: Ohio State commit Tavian St. Clair and the aforementioned USC commit Julian Lewis, among many other talented signal callers on this list. And still a few spots open to add a few more, which is the impetus for our next segment. We bring on Greg Biggins. He's been to just a few Elite 11 finals events over the years, so we appreciate you coming on and talking about some of these quarterbacks. We want to hit on some that are already locked in and then some that could potentially be added to this list a little bit later. The highest ranked invitee is Tavian St. Clair. What is it that makes him so special, Greg?
I would say it's everything, on and off the field. I know he's had a great workout, Elite 11 wise. The tape pops for me. He's got the prototypical frame. Kind of reminds me a little bit, just frame wise and playing style wise, of EJ Manuel. Kind of going old school a little bit, an old school Elite 11 guy, Florida State player. But, love the athleticism, love the dual threat capability, love the pocket presence. And, talking to the Elite 11 / student sports staff recently, they said this kid was salt of the earth at the camp, and not just genuine, but coachable, wanted to be there, wanted to learn, and really a special kid, like I said, off the field. And on the field, he has all the talent. I think it sets up well for him. Bryce Underwood, as of right now, was not planning on going to a regional event. So that number one spot could be up for grabs right now. Tavian is our number one guy, number two guy, but number one guy potentially at the final. And if he has a great final, who knows? We could have a number one quarterback, at least in the discussion.
I love it. That's the best part, in my opinion, about camp season, is we hear so much about who these guys are as people and just between the ears and the processing. And so it's so good to hear that, especially coming from a very important position such as a quarterback. Top 5 QB in Husan Longstreet. He is also in. What are you hoping to see from the Texas A&M commit?
Yeah, he's got a hose. He's got a live arm. I know both Ivins and Cooper have said maybe the most live arm in the class. For me, I want to see, can you change speeds a little bit? Can you throw me an occasional changeup? Throw with some touch. I know he can rip the football, and I've seen him since 8th grade. I've always made the comment, 11-inch hand, man, he can grip it and rip it. I love the kid as a person. Just want to see another side of him, right? I want to see him throw that deep ball with accuracy and touch. Just saw him last week at a showcase. He looked great at Centennial High School. 6'1", 6'1.5". I think he's got another growth spurt in him. He's got some dual threat capability, but he wants to be in that pocket and just throwing the football on time all over the yard. But at the final, again, I want to see how can he be accurate to all three levels, not just throwing fastballs, but show me some touch, show me some accuracy down the field as well.
So you've said that our number 10 quarterback and Notre Dame commit, Deuce Knight, is an invitee who maybe has surprised you a bit. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so let me clarify, because you say a surprise, people are going to say, oh, you're saying that guy can't play? Not at all. I love Deuce. Another guy I saw at a 7-on, which obviously I think 7-on is probably one of the worst stages to evaluate a quarterback. But I did see Deuce, and if I'm being brutally honest, he was just okay that day. And I think he'd probably admit the day I saw here locally, Southern California, he was just okay that day. So I'm not surprised he made the final. 100% he's a top 20 quarterback. There's 20 guys that make the final. I think he's a top 10 guy. It was just good to see him get locked in that day. They only have 9 guys locked in so far. There's 20 spots, 11 to go. I'm not a good math, but there's 11 more spots to go. So for Deuce to come out at his regional and just rip it, he's a big, strong kid. I mean, he's 6'4", 6'5", basketball body, basketball player, as strong an arm as you're going to see. But for him to come out and show that he's more than just a thrower, he's a quarterback, right? And he had a great regional. And so another kid who I got to know at the regional, at the 7-on out here, I really enjoyed talking with him. So am I surprised he made it? Not at all. I think he's got some juice to him. But it was good to see him get invited that day at the regional, because not everybody gets invited the day of. Like a lot of guys, you have to wait. And it's your body of work, it's your tape, it's your upside, plus it's your camp experience. So he did it all that day, and I'm really happy for him.
Exactly. You said it. There's still 11 spots open. Not everybody gets immediately invited at those regionals. There's only one regional left, and it's this weekend in State College, Pennsylvania. What should we expect from this group of performers this weekend?
It's a good list. I talked to Brian Stump earlier today, who runs the Elite 11, and it's a good list. There's 3 or 4 top 200 guys in the 2024-7 class. Matt Zollers from Lake Washington. A couple really good-looking 2026s. Dia Bell is a guy that I like a lot. Ryan Cunningham, another player. So, again, with 11 spots left, I would be shocked if they don't invite at least 1, maybe even 2 or 3 guys. This is the last one, and I think you always kind of want to, not fill up too quickly. You want to make sure you have some key spots left. So this is the last regional. I know they have a lot of discussion going on, but, good list of guys in that 2025 class. And I think if 1 or 2 of these kids just absolutely have a great day in person to go along with the tape that we've all seen, I would not be shocked if at least 1 or 2 guys get that golden ticket at the end of the event this weekend.
So who are they going to be? Who's your pick to get an invite? Who gets the golden ticket?
I'm not even going to be there. I think that'll be our boy Hudson Standish, I think, who absolutely has a great eye for talent. But if I'm just trying to put my crystal ball on a guy who's going to get invited, usually we do crystal balls, right, for commitment prediction. I'm going, who's going to get that Elite 11? I'm going to go with Matt Zollers. I love the film, man. Like, it's fun to watch this kid, and I watched it this morning. It's like old school Oakland Raider Al Davis get vertical. I mean, every throw was just him dropping back in the pocket and just throwing it 40, 50 yards down the field, right on the money. One of the more accurate deep throwers that I've seen. He's got some juice in that pocket too. I've used that word a few times, but man, I like the pace that he plays with. He's got a little bit of quick twitch to him, the way he can move around, make a guy miss, eyes down the field, inside the pocket, outside the pocket. Excited just kind of talking about him right now, but outside the pocket, he's got a hose, making the throws off platform, rolling right, rolling left. Man, he's got a complete game to him. Matt Zollers, unless allow me to be a little bit weird, unless he completely just craps the bed, Matt Zollers is getting an invite this weekend. I think he's going to have a great workout. The film, the upside, it's all there. Matt Zollers is my pick.
All right. I know Mizzou fans very excited to land that commitment and excited to hear you with that analysis as well. Greg, we appreciate you being here and hopefully being at the Elite 11 finals. Not at this next regional, though. That one's a little far for you. But thank you so much. You can check out more of his work right here where you are on the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel. 383,000 of you are subscribers. For that, we absolutely thank you. We could not do what we do without your support. If you aren't already a subscriber, though, you should really join in on the fun. We have daily live football shows like this one. We got 24/7 Sports Live and the Football Recruiting Podcast. Plus, we also have weekly hoops content, if that's your thing. It's my thing. Either way, hit the like button on the way out. Thanks for watching. This is the College Football Recruiting Show.